Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Retro Pioneers podcast channel. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're back with another one of our great shows. This is the Four Dudes Banter, guys. We sit around, we give you some news, we give you some opinions, we give you what we're playing. We just have a nice conversation about games. It's going to be an awesome day. We got a lot of cool stuff for you today. Rorschach, how you doing, man? What's going on?
Doing good, man. Just hanging out, working, coming home, playing some Counter-Strike. Kind of just bouncing around different games each week. I know every time I come in here, I'm playing something different. But the boys got me back into Counter-Strike this week, so we're tryharding. Back to being sweaty.
Nice, nice, nice. Mr. Justin, how you doing today, sir?
Oh man, I'm doing great, man. You know, a little tired from doing another podcast, but we moving. We
You
moving.
better pick that energy up. You better pick it up.
Yeah, it's picking.
Mr. Rage Chris, our news specialist. How you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing excellent. Just gaming, raging, doing all the things. Excited to get to talking, gaming and stuff with you boys and see what your thoughts on all these subjects are. So, we're
Yes,
ready to go.
Well, we should at the end we should do like a special. What have you been raging on at the end? But
Yeah, there you go.
we'll circle back to that. Yeah, guys, I'm doing well too, man. Just chilling, gaming, playing a lot of Oblivion right now. But yeah. Guys, we got an awesome news show for you. We got 4 kind of side stories along from our main story. We got to talk about it. The whole industry's talking about Marathon, guys. Bungie, one of the largest studios in the world, the creators of Halo, creators of Destiny 1 and 2, formerly owned by Activision, now formerly independent, now owned by Sony. Bungie's at it again. They've stolen art. Oh my gosh. Let's talk about it real quick, guys.
Dun, dun.
So I got a little article here from Forbes. I want to touch on a couple of bullet points, not too many, and we'll go around the horn and kind of talk about it. This is an article from Paul Tassi at Forbes. The title of the article is New Marathon Info, Bungie Morale, Launch Woes, and Changing Plans. So guys, there's some launch woes coming from the art theft. So it says a public explanation for the art theft. One employee taking things in 2020 is the same one being given internally at Bungie among the rank and file. Sony and Bungie Legal are now sorting through this and think there is unlikely to be any much new information as this continues to unfold. It is not clear how long an audit will take of the assets to remove or find any more plagiarism, as it is an expansive enough process to have Bungie not even show any footage at all in its recent live stream. So this debacle has caused Bungie to kind of totally shift their marketing. They've had to kind of retreat inwards like a turtle and figure out what's going on. It says morale is in free fall across all departments, and the vibes have never been worse. Everyone has the same concerns about what happens to Bungie as a studio if Marathon bombs, which is something they absolutely cannot afford. This is wild. Let me go one more quick bullet point for you here. So it says Marathon was originally pitched by a higher up, one of the good old boys at Bungie. It says as far back as 5 years ago. And devs in the studio were telling them that this would, that it wouldn't work and were often ignored. Many have said previously that it needed to have some sort of PvE component. It's a lot to take in there, guys. But let's start with the art theft. Rorschach, let's go to you. You're our resident photographer, designer.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on this?
It's lazy. I mean, for those who don't know, just a little TLDR. Basically, Bungie stole art from a female artist who makes kind of like cyberpunk style vector graphics, X's, shapes, but some of her graphics had words on them, names, to give it some character, and inside the game Marathon were all of her pieces of art, not just pieces of it, but just pixel for pixel, and some of the words were even scraped off texture-wise, so multiple steps of mental theft, knowing what you're doing, and Bungie's statement basically saying that one employee years ago found this stuff, it's going to get taken out of the game, it's not that big of a deal, oops, sorry, that's kind of their excuse, but internet discovered that basically the entire dev team was still following this woman, so everybody knew about it. Obviously, just lazy. I mean, we're talking about something that really shouldn't be difficult for a vector graphic designer to do. That, to me, that screams that they needed to get something done just based on what you're talking about, the internal conflicts of, it sounds like maybe it was a rush project to prove something to the higher ups there that this is gonna work. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even know anything about the game because all I've heard is about the theft. I don't even know what the type of game it's supposed to be, because I can't get past the fact that somebody would steal from an artist like that and blatantly follow them. I mean, that's just got to be a level of social disconnect that we're probably seeing a lot in the industry. It probably happens more and more, and especially with AI coming up, we're going to see AI start to get fed with a lot of people's creations and their art. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably the age of people like me are slowly dwindling. We're no longer the artist, we're the operator, right? We're going to become somebody who helps tune the AI or create these things, and there's going to be gray areas that people cross because they're lazy. They don't want to take the time to literally sit down like this artist does and dot the O's and cross the I's, so to speak. You know what I mean? Got that backwards, but you guys understand what I'm saying. So yeah, I mean, just at the end of the day, it's lazy. It's lazy.
I like dot my O's and cross my I's also.
Mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me just quick touch on Bungie has a lot of money, and it's so sad to me that these companies don't just hire these people. And they see that they start following someone on Instagram who's an artist, 10 to 20, 30 employees start following that same person, right? Just hire them as a freelancer. They have things called contracts, and you can just hire every artist who's online will do freelance work pretty much. For a major company, if the price is right and it's good work that they want them to do. I don't know why Bungie didn't think they couldn't just make a phone call, but hey, we'd love to hire you for like 3 months to just do some work for us, and then we'll do a contract, and your work will be ours after that. Blah blah. Blah. It's like
Simple.
It's all contracts. You know what I'm saying? It's wild.
I think it goes back to what we talk about every week. It's just people who don't make games people who don't play games are in charge of games, right?
Making the stuff that they don't play, so they don't really have a appreciation for it. Yeah, it's interesting because this is Bungie we're talking about, which I'm an Xbox guy and I like Xbox, and I'm coming from the Halo days where that was like, the peak of their creations, and then boy have they fallen off. Sorry, got a helicopter.
It's all good.
This is the military landing and raided Chris's backyard. Like, what'd you do, Chris?
Talking about Bungie. Oh shoot. But yeah, they've fallen so hard. I used to love Halo, and those are the games that I remember specifically from that group. And now to see this, it's just like, this is disrespectful to gamers, to gaming. It's like, you can't steal. I mean, it's one thing to take inspiration, and that's understandable because now in a day and age where everything gets inspiration from something. But blatantly stealing and getting caught with it, it just sounds like they have no leader. There's no leadership there. It's just like, who's going to take the reins and make us money? Like, that's all it sounds like. It sounds like all trying to be money grabs. And I hate to say it like that because I hate seeing video games becoming this. But as we get more and more into it, it just seems like all these big CEOs and tech giants are just looking at dollar signs and not looking at the quality of the work that they're putting out. So, yeah, I just hate to hear all this. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this, Justin? Anything different?
I don't know, man. It just, going back off of what you said, it kind of make it to the point where what else Bungie been stealing that we don't know of? Maybe Halo design was stolen from someone. So it's just, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
When you find out something like this.
It's passed some torches to just some different hands over the years, so I wouldn't say that it's the original guys anymore. So
nah.
That's true, yeah.
which is at least something we can hold on to nostalgia wise. So.
If you remember, so there was two guys. It was Joseph Staten and I believe the other guy's name, I think it was Jeff or something. He's still at the company. He's still the main CEO. What happened was Joseph Staten, he left right after after Destiny 1 launched. Because he was one of the higher ups, but he's also the lead writer. So he was hiring writers, running the department. And Bungie 1, Destiny 1 launched with an underwhelming narrative. It was like a short, you could tell it was cut short. Like the game, the way it ended, it was like, this is not an ending. So you could tell that something happened with the writing and the story. He left, went back to Microsoft. And so I think whatever good influences he used to have at Bungie left when he left. The goodwill, the other guy is way more kind of money hungry, a little more corporate-esque in the way he thinks. Because Joe was a writer. He's more like the people person.
So
For those of y'all who don't know, if we didn't really explain it, but Marathon is an extraction shooter. It's chasing the trend of, honestly, a lot of these games, people don't want to admit it, but these games are chasing the trend of the Division 1 and 2. The Division 2 is still being played today. We got a 60 frame update when the new consoles launched. And that's why you have, games like Helldivers 2 going full third person and being pure PvE because they saw the Division was successful. Bungie wanted to jump on that PvE extraction bandwagon. There's another game coming out. I believe it's called
Tarkov as well is a very popular one. Escape from Tarkov is a classic.
Tarkov. And the thing is, I think the ones does Tarkov have PvE or is it full PvP?
Tarkov is like there are like NPCs.
Right?
I think they call them scabs. So there are NPC characters. There are also like bosses and stuff. Like if you go into a warehouse, there's like sometimes a boss leader, and that's an NPC. So I do know that there are some aspects of that, but it's still mostly a PvP. I mean, at all times you have to be worried about somebody shooting you in the butt. So
yeah. But I agree with those Bungie devs. I think a PvE mode is where more players want to be. That's why Helldivers is still rocking. It's just you're going out there and you're fighting these waves of crazy enemies and all these types. Ray Trish, what are your thoughts on extraction shooters?
They're fun. I actually played the Division 1 and 2, and I enjoyed those games. The thing with those games for me is that they're good in small bursts or, for the time that they had them. But I think longevity, like people kind of get over the playing against everything and everyone. You kind of sometimes want to draw back and go to those single player experiences. So it just depends. But yeah, I mean, this is just like they tried to make a game that just didn't sit well from beginning to end, and I think this is stemming also from Sony. We're also losing fact that this is a Sony studio now, and they keep having these blunders, and this is just another example. And I don't know where they're at as making games. They used to be top notch. They're kind of squandering it now because Microsoft's coming up as the main game developer, even though Microsoft doesn't have a console with Xbox anymore. So it's kind of, we're in like this weird gaming landscape where everything kind of doesn't make sense and people are stealing when they know they shouldn't, and it's like they're getting caught and like there's no like repercussions. It seems like it's like, but except for the internet, people on here, we're the only ones to actually hold people to account. So I'm kind of glad that they did get caught, because I don't like to see people's artwork getting stolen, especially when a conglomerate kind of company like that has the means and the money to pay them. Just pay people. Come on, it's simple.
I think it's the classic corporate strat of it's cheaper to pay the fees than it is to pay the fines. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's cheaper to. It's like what Apple does. It's like
CVS,
they've been.
I used to work for them. They did it all the time. They would constantly get sued, and it's cheaper to pay a bunch of lawyers and to pay the suit than it is just to do the thing that's supposed to be good for everyone. It's like
we see it happening all the time. So, and shout out Tim in chat who's commenting from YouTube. I saw you talking about Destiny. And I agree with you, man. Like I feel like there's this situation with gaming where it's like we have to make the next thing, and it's like stop doing that. Create like a foundation or a platform on a new engine and release expansions like MMOs do on that expansion. Like Call of Duty is a perfect example of this. They try so hard to just come out with like new slide mechanics, new this, and they're always trying to push the boundaries when like Call of Duty gamers literally just want to go home in 360 no scope and just shoot sniper rifles and shoot guns. Like I don't need to be in like a crazy costume and wall sliding. Like we've been playing these games forever. Like why not? That could be a game mode inside the game, and then you'll see who plays it, and then based off analytics, you make better decisions. And then they separated the battle royale, and it's just like, and to your point, people play those extraction shooters, they play battle royales, but after a while, it's like the sweatiness is just like, okay, like I just want to go play something else. Like maybe I want to play a shooter, but I don't want to be like slamming my head against the desk all the time. You know what I mean? But I think extraction shooters they're like the opposite of a battle royale. A battle royale, you're trying to stay in and be in there for as long as possible, and an extraction shooter is just a little bit more ratty. You get in, you get out. So I think it has a different player mindset, but it seems like that's where shooters are going right now. It's arena shooters like with Marvel Rivals, and it's like stuff like Tarkov. You don't really see other shooters really changing anything for the better or using their platforms.
Well, that's one of the reasons I think the Division has had some of that longevity, is because it gives you the option to just play the kind of single, it's not really single player, but the story mode where you don't have to go into the dark zone at all. You can just, get on with a couple friends. You guys can just PvE all night. You can go after the cleaners. You can go in the Air and Space Museum. You can just run around DC and never ever have to worry about the PvE side. And then there's guys who they get PvE sweaty and they're in there and they got the builds and they're ganging up on people and they're talking trash. So I think when you provide that duality, it makes the longevity for everything just a wonderful little mix. Because when I play the Division, I only go in the dark zone when I'm just like, let me just kind of see what's rocking, what's feeling spicy today. Otherwise, I'm like getting a friend on and like, let's go in the Air and Space Museum and let's run around and get on the highest difficulty, see if we can get through there and that kind of stuff. And I think the companies forget that PvE still reigns supreme for longevity.
It does. Even in MMOs, PvP is usually a small portion of the player base. And look at like MMOs like the Elder Scrolls Online. That game was terrible at launch, and the PvP community saved that game. But the PvP community carried it to where it got enough development to where they expanded on the PvE, and now they just don't even do anything for the PvP. So because what you said, it's the casual gamer. It's like the Overwatch effect. It's why they dumbed down Overwatch and made all the heroes be super flashy. It's because they wanted it to be more approachable for a newer audience. That's why games like Counter-Strike and Valorant don't always see like a huge surge of new players, because they are like higher skill cap and people want to come home and just chill after work. It's just a different mindset like than wanting to go sweaty and go hard all the time. And to Tim's point earlier, like just make those game modes inside your universe. Like if we could just log into Call of Duty, if you could log into Destiny, if you could log into these games, and inside those games are all these ideas that everybody tries to branch off into different games, I feel like you might see people stick around in them more, especially with Call of Duty. You spend so much time grinding these skins, getting your gold AKs, and then it's like, boom, a new game. It's like, bro, I just got this. Like, I bought this 3 months after it came out, and now I'm already, or it's like a new season. Like they try to like patch it with seasons. Like seasons are basically what we're saying, but just done poorly, in my opinion.
Yeah, you don't even get to keep the different stuff from game to game as well, because I've played the different Modern Warfares or Call of Black Opses, and the new game comes out, instead of making your previous purchases go to the following game, it gets trapped in that game, except for on Warzone. You're like, well, if it's on Warzone, it should be playable everywhere, because if I have my character there, they can give me that ability, but they want to keep selling me, or us, whoever buys them, I'm part of the problem, and buy these skins and stuff. And cause I'm not going to sit here and say I don't enjoy playing these games and playing, with different characters and avatars, because that's the whole fun of it, is to get out of my day-to-day and enjoy gaming. And like you said, with your friends, your boys, whoever you play with. And that's what multiplayer is, whether you're playing against, other people who are actual people or bots. It sucks when you play against bots and you're terrible, because then you just feel like you need to uninstall, but that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, I mean, these extraction shooters, the only one I really like playing now is Helldivers, because it's fresh, it's new, it's something different. And that's the thing with them, is they're good for a while, but then the next version comes out of it that you see, and it's like it explodes. And that's, I think, what happened with Helldivers that we were talking about a little bit earlier, that I'm glad that they did do that. And that's actually one of those studios that came out with kind of like a surprise success, supposedly, because no one really knew that they were going to be this big, and now they're still being talked about, and they've been released over a year ago, so it's pretty cool to see.
Can I touch on one thing that Tim in our chat just said as well? He just said that it's impossible to balance the two, and I totally agree with you. And one of the things I'd like to mention is there's an old game called Guild Wars when I was a kid, and it's an old MMO that was free to play, so it had a large player base. And one of the cool things that they did in that game is every 4 hours they had a tournament called the Hall of Heroes, and every region in the world, Korea, Europe, NA, would compete in PvP, and if your region won for the next 4 hours, your country got favor, so the PvE players could go into the 2 dungeons, Fissure of Woe or Underworld. So when I came home from school and the dungeons were glowing, I would thank my PvP players in chat. We'd be like, yo, good job. It'd be stoked. Why are we not creating mechanics in games that make the two harmonize together? We've old MMOs and games had cool features that would create integrations like that, to where the PvP players are fighting. And then there was another cool thing that Guild Wars 1 had, was called Guild versus Guild. How we're meeting every Wednesday, you could sign your guild up and they'd put you into a bracket, and your brackets would compete, and you would actually have a schedule. You'd have a tournament. It was like playing football at high school, but it was in Guild Wars, and every Thursday you had a match at 8 p.m. Eastern, and you would win, and you'd have a positive season score, and because of that, that would give you kind of like bragging rights. So when your PvE players were running around doing dungeons, you're like, oh yeah, well I'm in this guild and our PvP players are better. Like, I think that there's so many opportunities for games to create this like more interactions like that. We need more of that from old games back for sure.
Justin, final thoughts on Marathon extraction shooters?
It sucks, man, that a big company like Bungie, did something so foul like this, and like I said, at the end of the day, it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth where it kind of makes you going forth, wondering what else they're doing that we don't know about. And hopefully this can be swept, regardless of anything, Bungie need to issue an apology to this young lady and get her full rights to whatever she needs from this big company. You know what I'm saying? And they need to make it right, man.
What would it take for Bungie specifically to get your dime on this game Marathon? What would they have to do to get money from you, Justin?
Give the girl
her apology.
Her apology for one.
Okay.
But also give her creative control over this game.
Money. Give her some money too.
Give her some money.
Residuals.
Give her some ching ching.
Give her some bread, because she deserves it. For you to blatantly go out there and take someone's stuff and try to cover it up.
Yeah.
That's major, man, to the point where it's like, there's no coming back from that.
But that's corporate culture, man. That's what they just learned it by. It's like the old commercial. Where'd you learn how to do this? I learned it by watching you. That's what these corporations do. They learn by watching other corporations steal, and they keep stealing. But let's wrap up the Marathon. We got some great thoughts on that one, guys. If you're interested in more marathon info, check out that Forbes article. Also check back with us. We'll probably be talking about it as we get more information next week. Also, could be some new information coming from Bungie. Who knows? We'll figure out and we'll give it to you next week. But we got 4 more interesting little news stories coming from our news specialist, Mr. Rage Chris. Chris, hit us with that first story there.
First story, I see that Hellblade 2 will be coming to PS5. It got announced to be coming later this summer with some free upgrades for the PS5 Pro. So if you're a console player, that's exciting, especially because it's it used to be an Xbox exclusive game. So I just wanted to catch your guys' thoughts, on this, because, I played the first one. I haven't been able to play the second one yet, but it's very interesting to me to see this. You got any thoughts over there, Justin? You look like you got something.
I'm gonna say he's thumbs down. I want to know what the thumbs down means.
He's ready.
No, it's nothing personal, man. It just thumbs down to Sony. But but I mean, overall, man, the first game was cool. So am I excited for the second one? I don't know. I'm under the weather.
What's your
go to somebody else.
Yeah, Rorschach, you got any thoughts on it?
Never played Hellblade games. Didn't they make movies about? Isn't there a Hellblade movie?
You think Hellraiser?
Yeah,
Hellraiser. That's what I'm thinking of. Okay. Yeah. Nope. I'm thinking of the wrong movie, and I've never played them. So I hope it's good. Good luck.
I got some thoughts on this one.
No, it's one of those, like, to describe it, it's kind of like a trippy, like, mind game, like where you're inside the main character's head and you don't know what is real and what's, like, not real, what's reality and what's not reality. So it kind of plays on, like, your emotions, and kind of like it's got like a fear element that kind of like creeps up on you. But I'm basically talking from the first game's experience that I had with it. Like I said, I haven't played the second one, but my main interest in this story was just the fact that it's going to Sony and PlayStation, which seems like more and more games, like I said from earlier, are coming to them from Xbox instead of them doing it in-house, because they're the ones who have, like The Last of Us and games like that are like, everyone gushes over, but they haven't made a new one. They just kind of rehash them over and over, and except for like the random like Helldivers game, they don't really have anything that's been like first party for me that's been hitting in the like recent year, So I don't know if Byron has any other thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, this was a big title push from Xbox. This was a first-party Xbox game that got announced years ago, and it's a very visually impressive game. If you look at trailers for this game, it looks really sick, really nice. Character modeling, everything. It was on Unreal Engine 5 with like all the latest updates when it came out. And this is just more of Microsoft's strategy to say, look, we are the Netflix of gaming. We're going to put our stuff out first party, and they're starting to show that now because you have Doom Eternal has launched for day one on Game Pass, so they're really going in on this day one Game Pass stuff, which is what happened with Hellblade 2: Senua's Saga. But then after whatever time period that they allot, 6 months, a year, they're dropping these games on PlayStation hard. They're putting them on PlayStation, and now, like you said, Chris, they're giving this a PlayStation Pro update. So they're letting the studios use those PlayStation dev kits and acclimate them and fine-tune them for PlayStation, because they're basically saying we are a software company that's going to be putting out hardware on the next gen. We don't know about the gen after that yet, but we'll let you know. But you will be able to get a top-of-the-line console from us next time, and you'll be able to play your Game Pass games. They're going to look beautiful. But if you're on PlayStation, you can wait a year and play it. But that, that doesn't bother me so much as being a guy who was a hardcore Xbox guy who's now just like I'm Xbox PlayStation. I play everything that I can, that I can try to get my hands on. So it's good for PlayStation fans, good for me because I might be getting a PlayStation Pro in the fall. So yeah, I'm getting the PlayStation Pro in the fall. So not in the fall, maybe after the wedding, because I just got to be prepared to play GTA 6 at the highest possible console frame rate. And exactly. I want it for these Naughty Dog games that are coming out like 2027. So
I just feel like we've been having this cross-console conversation since I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like this whole exclusive game thing. It made sense when studios worked specifically with, old consoles back in the day when like the console war was kind of like more prominent. But I feel like, come on now, at this point everybody knows that consoles are just PCs, right? They're just PCs with a different operating system. If you take apart an Xbox and a PlayStation, you'll eventually find the CPU, you'll eventually find the heatsink, you'll find the RAM. Like they're all just computers. We know that we could all play together if you guys just stop trying to penny pinch gamers. And I think Microsoft has really proven to Sony like what is possible with that online subscription. And I think Sony last year came out with an article that said that they were astounded or shocked, I can't remember what the word they used, with how much money they made on their PC ports. And it's like, yeah, it's almost like people have stuff other than PlayStations, you know what I mean? Like, right. And it's like after 20 years they're like, wait a minute, there's other gamers. And it's like, yeah, man, Microsoft has been like trying to like shake hands with you on this for like a literal decade. Microsoft has always been kind of extending their hand on this and had said years ago that like they were always open to the conversation of just getting rid of the exclusive stuff, but they really did that just because they knew that if they didn't sign certain games into a contract, Sony was probably going to take them. It was, you're fishing for the best studios. Exactly. And like, and that's like Hideo Kojima was locked down with Sony for years until he was able to leave and go make his own studio, and locked down with Konami and like working with all those guys over in Japan. So, it's nice to see
Fortnite credit. I will give Fortnite credit for this, and I don't know if many people know this. Because of Fortnite and Epic, they forced Sony to go multi with that game, because at the time, I remember, and I used to play Rocket League, and that's also another game that wasn't multi-platform. It used to be, you could play if you're on Xbox, or PlayStation, but not together. But with Fortnite, they forced them to open up for every platform so you can play online with everyone, which was great, because then you didn't have to buy an Xbox or a PlayStation just to play with your friends who might not necessarily have the same console, because maybe under their Christmas tree they got the other thing that you didn't get. So that was like, to their credit for them to do that to Sony, because like you said, Microsoft had been trying to like creep that way, but it was that huge game basically forced their hand at it, and I was like, that was the best thing for our gamers as a whole, and I was happy to see that at that time.
And they also launched the Epic Store too, which I think kind of redefined the space a little bit too, taking a little bit of pressure away from Steam. Not much, but them being their own publisher as well allowed them to set themselves up to like start doing deals a little bit differently as well.
Yeah.
Yep. What's the next story, Mr. Chris?
Let's see, the next thing we got going. Just a quick thing that's actually I'm kind of concerned with, because this is kind of goes with game preservation. They're getting rid of X-Defiant, Resident Evil Reverse, and Madden 21. Their servers are shutting down. It looks like going to be affecting millions of people.
What were those games one more time for me?
X-Defiant, Resident Evil Reverse and Madden NFL 21, which Madden don't think most people will care who's not, heavy into the Madden series, but I'm interested to hear some of your thoughts, Byron. You got anything on this?
Yeah, shutting down servers is always it's interesting thing to me because I guess I like to loop this back to I wish that the gaming industry was a little bit more like Hollywood in that when a particular property, like let's say a network doesn't want to renew your show, your show can go and shop around to other networks typically, and if somebody else can pick you up. Like for example, the show SWAT just got canceled by some network, but then they're doing a spinoff now on another network. And so that kind of stuff happens all the time. There's another show on Netflix that got canceled, got picked up by Hulu. So I wish that with gaming and gaming servers, that when a company is like, look, we don't want to put more money into this, that, okay, leave it out and let shop around. Maybe a third party company might want to literally just start up just to run that and make money off that. Like it's literally a thing that can be done, but the gaming industry kind of seems adverse to it. A game that I thought would have been perfect for that was Anthem. EA was like, we don't care about this anymore. But the fans who played it, like myself, we were playing it. People were putting their time into it. They were making updates. Yeah. EA had a quarterly meeting and they were going to decide if they were going to keep funding it or not. They obviously decided not to. But you could have just sold that property off, made some money in return, and some other company could have just been running and managing it, and they could now be doing same thing with these servers. So even if Madden is, still whatchamacallit, you could sell off that Madden server and just let some other company still run it and license through the NFL and just run Madden 21, and they can make their money off that. But
it's actually a genius idea, like what you're saying. It's almost like, I don't know how familiar you guys are with like servers and stuff, but like there's VMware and like you're able to like spin up virtual machines on servers. It might be an interesting concept as like a B2B business where like you're saying you have all these server racks, but like I'll allocate VMware to spin up your game when X amount of people are like, oh wow, all of a sudden like 100 people decide to log on your game still, but the IP could live here, and then that company could pay like $250 or $500 like a month like to that company, and it's like just $500 a month to keep our game alive. It's like $6,000 a year, but like that company could have like 200 IPs on their VMware network, and so they're making a lot of money and they can afford to do it. But then it would just allocate and use AI to like spin up servers. It's very similar to like the technology they use now when you're trying to like load up a game server. If the game itself does the allocating of the server, kind of like Counter-Strike does, like when it gets spun up on their network, you use it temporarily, but then once you log out, you're no longer on their IP, and it's not like self-hosted IPs. You know what I mean? That's actually a really interesting concept. That could be cool.
I wish they would think about doing that stuff.
Yeah,
because it would open up, more companies to want to be in the game development. Because if let's say you go and you purchase a small IP that was, dying out for $3 million, but then you develop it more, and now you're able to make a sequel that another company never thought about making,
Like the Ion MMO, that still had like a couple thousand people. There's been a lot of MMOs where this has happened because MMOs require so many resources to keep online. And the reason is like, for example, on like ESO, there could be 250,000 people on there every day. So they have to have servers that can allocate up to that much. And at what point does a company go, do we just limit the servers? Like there's got to be some technology that could like open up more server slots, like as people want to like hop on the game, and you could turn it down a little bit more and save the cost. That's an interesting concept.
What about you, Mr. Justin? Any thoughts on these game servers shutting down? Are you a server head?
To a certain extent. It depends on the game, and it depends on how good of the game it is. Because like let's just say pivot to fighting games. Like Mortal Kombat. Well, no. Scratch that. Tekken, for example, right? Tekken is a great game, but sometimes its server can, go down at certain points. So it's like, hey, it's needed. It's needed at certain points. And
you mean you think you need other companies to come and hop in when the major companies don't want to keep it going?
Yeah, that is a great idea for them to do something like that, because it's keeping the game alive, for one. And you still got people to this day who play PS2, who made their own servers to play certain PS2 games.
Yeah,
So servers
like
is
SOCOM.
very exactly.
I played that game on PS2, and I seen that. I thought they shut down the servers years ago, but there's the community who hosts those games, SOCOM 1 and 2 for the PlayStation. Those are like for the PS2. Those are like the first online multiplayer games I ever played. And the fact that you could still go on the original game and play them because of the community around it, that's pretty telling to say. Like you said, they should definitely have some more people or business models where they can keep these older games. Like, it kind of reminds me of I don't know if you heard of Futurama, like you were saying earlier, Byron, that these IPs can get sold off. Futurama got canceled I don't know how many times. It's been around since the late 90s. It's one of those like throwback cartoons that if you follow, like The Simpsons, they're kind of like spin-off from that. But now they're still coming out brand new episodes. I think they're coming out in July with some more episodes, and it's like from 1999
Futurama
to now.
new episodes?
Yeah. And they got, so that's what I'm saying. And this is a 25-year-old cartoon that it wasn't like The Simpsons where they just stayed on forever. They actually got canceled a few times because, for this reason or that reason. But it's cool to see it come back. And it's like, you don't necessarily get that with certain games. Like, once they're gone, like the server shut down, that's it. And so it's, yeah.
Fans did the same thing with NCAA Football 14. They didn't have an NCAA football for so long, and the modding community kept that alive for a long time. And every year when the draft came out and new players came into NCAA, and all the players left for the draft, they would update the rosters, and you would literally be playing I was watching people play with Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter in NCAA 2014 on YouTube until they announced that they were coming out with the new ones. Shout out to all the nerds out there who just spend an insane amount of time doing dumb stuff like that, so we can still be nerds. The passion projects are real, man.
You're the real ones. The real
That's true.
Gaming MVP.
The poor Sky Oblivion team, those poor guys have been working on remaking Oblivion for a decade, and then just out of nowhere, Bethesda's just like, hey, we remade it, and Sky Oblivion was like, sick.
Okay, we're still gonna
I guess our work is done.
But it's cool though. They got invited to the headquarters and got a T-shirt, so it's all good. Oh.
Nice.
Mr. Rage Chris, what's our third story?
Let's see here. We got Xbox Game Pass actually released its retro classics on there. So it got some old Atari, some old Super Nintendo. Well, I guess a game on there, even a PS1 game. So it's kind of interesting because you could play those on Xbox, PC, wherever you get your Game Pass. I'm actually really interested to hear what you have going on, Justin. Some thoughts, because I know you've been playing around with it. So,
and I have. Soon as you mentioned it on Threads, I went straight to looking on how I can find this. I thought they was going to implement it into the software part with the UI.
Yeah,
but they didn't. It's something on its own. It's standalone, so you have to actually download the Retro Classics app from Xbox. And when I downloaded and played through it, I'm like, okay, this is very promising. But it also can lead towards a dark hole that I hope Microsoft do not go down. But regardless of anything, everything is microtransaction, and I'm starting to see that this probably going to go down that route too.
Well, just for some clarification, presumably what this is Microsoft unleashing the Activision retro gaming library into their Xbox ecosystem. I'm guessing that's what's going on.
Yep.
So all those classic
with achievements,
Atari, Activision games that were under Activision, even PS1 or 2 games that they now own IPs for, no matter what platform they're pushing on. Microsoft's like, you can now play it on Xbox.
Game Pass.
Yeah, that's got to be. I mean, anyone know? Is there a total of games released on it? Is this just a big chunk, and they're going to keep doing bigger chunks, or is this
right
the whole
now,
library?
As we can see, it's roughly around 15 to 16 games on there.
Okay,
right?
So just a small batch.
It's small batch, but don't know if it's going to be updated where they're going to add more to it. That's why I said it's promising, but at the same time, it can be a downfall for this too, because of, like I said, microtransactions. So hopefully it do not go down that route. Keep it for what it is, just giving us the chance, giving new players the chance to experience the Atari series, but in a competitive way where You know, it's kind of like I'm not sure if everybody's familiar with the NES compilation game where you go against other players and you get to like I might be butchering it, but it's just a game where players can compete with each other, right? For bragging rights. And they was given a trophy by Nintendo back in the days for this, but they also rebranded this for like the Switch and stuff like that. But I see this going on with Microsoft when it comes down to Atari games. They're making it where we can compete with each other on these older games, like for leaderboards and stuff like that. Yeah.
Bringing more multiplayer online instead of the couch co-op. It's now just internet co-op. So it's very similar. I mean, it's similar to like what Nintendo did, right? I mean, didn't Nintendo come out with like their own subscription-based access to old retro games? And like, I think that's always great as long as the game one is ported nicely. Like, there's been times where old retro games they get messed with and they don't port properly or like play the same. So like, as long as the games are like ported well, like I think it's always great when you can bring retro stuff. But this is something that we've been wanting Nintendo to do for a long time with old games. I talked about it last week when I said that I'd love to see them remake Ogre Battles. And whenever somebody wants to remake Need for Speed Underground or Midnight Club, please for the love of God, remake Midnight Club or just bring that back to the consoles. That would be sick.
The dub edition.
There's so many. There's so many games that would. I think you're running into the problem of it's publishers, right? It's old game studios, it's old publishers, it's old deals. Maybe like
License.
You guys said, it's Futurama games potentially where they're just sitting in the void of like somebody has to sit down and do paperwork to get this thing moving again. And maybe there's just more moving parts to these things that we just don't see, and it's not as easy as just pick up the phone and be like, hey, we'd love to put Need for Speed 2 back on our stuff, but that's how we look at it as gamers. We're like, make it happen. You made it happen once, you can do it again.
Right.
But who knows what the moving pieces really are for those deals.
Yeah, those classic games are going to be fun to play, but right now the thing that I see that's a problem is it's got a short amount of copies on there of games, and if they say they're going to be adding it monthly. I'm curious to see what titles they put in there, because it's one thing to have a bunch of games that are kind of like unknown, obscure, like old games, but to see some more like popular, well-known, games to kind of drive people to it. Because if you don't drive people to it, there's really no use for it. Because a lot of people you can emulate a lot of the games anyway, so there's really no need for another subscription and just to get retro games when most of the time they're free. So give us a reason to come back other than just leaderboards, which is cool. But like that's not I think for a lot of retro people, maybe that's not the point. But also, like you said, maybe there's not someone I'm thinking of, or like the younger crowd, they might not necessarily enjoy that old feel. They want something where it's more of a competition and something where they're like actually have a goal set in place instead of just playing for the fun of it. So yeah,
fine line between ruining it and enhancing it.
Yeah.
Now this batch of games, so they're available for everyone on just PC Game Pass or every Game Pass?
All Game Pass.
Okay, because I need to go in there and check that. And so it's just 16 games, and there's no extra fee yet for any of the games in there.
So,
okay.
What I'm guessing is, because we all know, we all have brains to know that once you implement so much into something, it goes up in value, right? So right now, Game Pass is $19.99. I can guarantee you by the end of this year, Game Pass is going to be up to the $30.
30? No.
I don't know about that, but that's a bold statement.
It'll be
$5.
Yeah, I gotta say 25. I could see it.
It'll be $21.99. Sure. They usually like to do a $3 increase at a time type of deal. It's like Netflix. They try to match what Netflix does.
Yeah, that's true, because that's what they actually call themselves, the Netflix of gaming. So that makes a lot of sense for them to model them after that the most.
Yeah, it's the old school grocery store technique. If somebody's buying bread for $1.50, it's just magically $1.75 in a couple months. It's just that's crazy how that works.
Yeah, $19.99 now. It'll be $21.99.
The bread's $2.50. Man, when'd that happen?
Hopefully, it stays the same price, because regardless of anything, this is a great addition to Game Pass for retro heads. And only imagine if we get more oldie games, as far as like I know for for a fact. We're not getting Sonic on here or, you know, Super Mario and stuff like that. But, you know, just those games like Pac-Man or, you know, Dead Doug. It would be cool to get those type of games on here where you can go against fellow friends and fellow Xbox Game Pass members. So it's promising.
They're taking the arcade leaderboard and putting it in the cloud now.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what's
Pretty
happening.
much,
Instead of going to your arcade and be like, I know JJ54. Now it's you're going up there and like,
I gotta beat that high score now.
New Master 21.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen the Donkey Kong documentary?
Yes. Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah.
If you guys have never seen the old retro Donkey Kong documentary, you have to watch it. I'll send you guys a link after this. It's a must watch if you guys are big retro gamers.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll look up that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I will. It's about the guy who about the guy Billy who set the world record in that, and then some normal guy with a wife and kids comes along and tries to break the record, and they it's a great it's a whole great thing. I'll have to send you guys a link.
But I mean, at the end of the day, not to go off topic, but at the end of the day, competition is what needed in everything we do, because it sparks that motivation to want to complete something. You know, as human beings, we have that hunger to do something and complete it. Just the fact that they're implementing in this new retro classics leaderboards and stuff like that is an amazing feat, because it's like, you know, you of course we could just play these games just by ourselves, but now that you're adding that feature of seeing other people's scores and you want to try to beat their scores, it makes it even more fun for you to want to play the game.
Yeah, gaming for me is all about more inclusion now. When I want to sit down and play Expedition 33, like I told you guys I was playing, it's a fun game, but I'm playing it by myself. The minute that one of my friends want to play something multiplayer, I'm just more inclined to want to go do that, because I'd rather just hang out with the homies. You know what I mean? So giving you that ability to just connect online, and that's really what gaming's become in the modern world. It used to be, self competition almost when you're playing on the couch, trying to make yourself better, self progression. But self progression's kind of died in gaming nowadays. It's really just more about just wanting to. It's like a social thing now.
That's actually a good point, because I can't ever finish a freaking single player game, because half the time my guys that I play with, or someone say, hey, let's play online, and then I quickly switch over, and I'm like, oh man, I was in the middle of this mission. You know what? I'm gonna pause this and go jump on with the boys and get down on some Rocket League or some Call of Duty or whatever.
Well, at our age, we don't really have time to just sit when you're younger, you can just spend the whole weekend really sinking into a single player game. That's what made us fall in love with gaming, because we were able to just we didn't have adult worries, we didn't have all these bills and stuff, and you were able to really get into a flow state and just be a degenerate and really love those stories. Whereas now I come home, I play on a Friday, I go back to work Monday through Thursday, I come home next Friday and I log in, I'm like, what the hell was I doing last week? I'm like, what is this stick? What is it's you don't even remember what's in your inventory. It's like loading a save from a couple weeks ago. You're like, man, I gotta make a new game. I gotta start over. Then you're just in the new game starting over loop again. So
go to YouTube,
the older you
figure out where I last left off and kind of trick my mind into remembering how to play the game, because some of these game mechanics too, because the old games didn't have as much buttons or functions, so you could kind of pick them up a lot easier. But now
just spam through them.
Yeah, now, especially if you're a console gamer, or if you're a person who plays with controller, even I play controller wherever I go, because that's just my preferred. And it's there's so many different buttons on a controller. I hand it to someone who doesn't know anything about gaming, and they look like I'm playing an alien stick. They're like, what does all these buttons do? I'm like, I promise you, each one of them has a good function, and it works, but you have to learn it. And it's kind of I've got muscle memory now because I've been playing so long with the controller. But for some people, it's just I see that and I'm like, oh, now I get why they have to kind of simplify these games, and why they don't necessarily have them where they have all these crazy functions. And just so to see that, it's kind of interesting, the whole aspect of it. And it's crazy to see that we're actually going towards this new generation. And now I have my children, they don't like anything button related. They're all about screens, the iPad, and that's why I'm seeing games kind of trying to balance that the two.
The Twitch streamer Thor said that when he used to work for one of the game companies he worked for, I can't remember if it was Blizzard, but they went to a conference and they set up a demo of their game, and they had a controller, and all the kids came through, and not one kid knew how to use the controller. They only knew how to use the touchscreen, and they'd all come over and they'd play the game on the touchscreen. But he said after like 3 days of being at this event, not one from the young generation picked up the controller. So it's crazy how something that was like such a staple of our generation is just like boom, wiped away with touchscreens.
But I was going somewhere with that, right? That shows you how far we're about to end up coming to Ready Player One.
Well, it's the scene from Back to the Future 2 when Elijah Wood is a young actress and McFly plugs in the arcade and he starts playing like, you gotta use your hands.
What's that?
That's a baby's game. And they just walk out.
I mean,
slowly get into that.
I love watching Counter-Strike competitive, and in my head, I'm just like, man, in a few years when you're actually like watching the person like walk on those infinity treadmills and like actually holding angles, like when it actually gets good and it's more stable and like the guns aren't swaying and the motion isn't still kind of wonky, because it is with VR games, let's be honest, you know, it's still a little slidey, it's not as responsive yet, but I really do feel like in 5-10 years the technology might be there, and that's going to make esports even cooler in my opinion, because now all the people who think that like gaming is, you know, kind of lame because there's no like physical aspect to it, even though we know as gamers that there's a large physical and mental aspect to gaming and a lot of hand-eye coordination, but I really think that like you might start seeing esports becoming even more respected in the wide spectrum of things, because now you're actually watching like somebody who's like almost like acting the same as like a military operator or something, but he's just like some kid like clearing corners, and you're just like, holy crap, this kid's insane. Like, get that kid in the military, you know what I mean? Yeah. Be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, definitely. I think that that's for the younger crowd, because me as an older gamer, I like just a controller and a couch and a TV, or even just a computer. Like, I'm not trying to, you know, become a Call of Duty, you know, Navy SEAL or anything like that. I'm just trying to if I'm shooting it, it's from a distance on a screen. I'm not trying to be like in a real life war zone, because that's gonna give me like PTSD. Then I won't be able to go to sleep that night, and then it becomes real life.
Warzone is a VR booth behind you. That might be kind of cool.
I mean, that's like that really is where the world's going. It's like, hey, Grandpa, you want to play this? It's like, no, I don't. It reminds me too much of the military. I'm good, thanks, man. Getting a little too real playing video games now.
Yeah, instead of really playing the military, you're getting a grandpa who's like, no, I'll say no thanks to the military.
Grandpa, you want to play Insurgency in VR? No. I'm good, Billy. It's crazy. It's wild to me that, like, war is something that is just so dramatized in games, like something that is like such a psychological nightmare for some people, whereas at home just like 360 no scoping, throwing grenades, it's so it is a weird desensitized thing. It definitely is a weird thing.
It's
that,
interesting.
We've glorified it that much.
I've played Call of Duty with people who are like, you know, in service, and they're over like, especially back, you know, when the Iraq war happened like years ago, and I would play with people who had like spotty connections, but they were playing from over there, and they would like kind of give you like an idea of how it was. And I'm like, holy crap, like you're not only living it, but you're also playing this. But you know, they had to have fun and downtime too, so they go, yeah, we don't take it as serious, and you know, we're not really going out there trying to hurt people. You know, this is just to kind of like let off some steam from the whole day of everything. I'm like, wow, that's interesting, because I thought, you know, after, you know, being, you know, on patrol or whatever you're doing, you didn't want to just come back and do more of that. But some of them really, like, you know, they still like playing, I guess, soldier and being soldier. I'm like, so to see that aspect also is interesting.
It's like us going to work all day and then coming home and playing Office Simulator. You know, it's like, oh man, I just got home.
How to get behind his desk?
Oh man, the digital printer's empty. Let me fill it with paper.
Yeah.
And what's funny is a lot of those games exist. Like they've got one for power washing. They've got one for like, I mean, just everything.
Mechanic
like TCG Simulator. Yeah, TCG Simulator was popping off there for a while. Everybody was playing that, and they were just running their card store. Like, you know, Schedule 1 is a weed dealer simulator basically. That game's blowing up.
Fun,
like number 2 behind Steam, that's behind Counter-Strike on Steam for, you know, concurrent players. I think he like hit almost 1 million people on the game at once. That's crazy.
Oh.
Yeah, he's like number 2, number 3rd spot. Like if you ever look at the Steam charts for like most played games, it's Counter-Strike, Dota, and then other games. Like nothing ever even
Crossfire's
comes
always
close
up there.
really to Dota, unless a game like and PUBG like are those like because PUBG still has over 1 million people on it every day concurrent on PC, not NA players, but the rest of the world. It's still massively popular. But anytime you see a game like even in the top 5 on Steam, it is like absolutely crushing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Chris, what is our fourth and final story today? We got for us.
I'm actually throwing you guys a curveball because I meant to put this in there and I realized I didn't. So I'm gonna actually talk about Borderlands 4. The CEO,
Yes.
Gearbox, the boss,
I wanted to
Randy
talk about
Pitchford. He actually was having an exchange on I think Twitter or X about the $80 price tag, and he says to the person, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. In regards to buying it. And yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't think a lot of people agree with that. That sounds really bad. I don't know who wants to go first and give us your thoughts. Byron?
The buyer go first.
Ooh, Randy Pitchford, Mr. Randy Pitchford. Oh man, where do you start with this guy? So Randy Pitchford I'll give him his flowers for creating the Borderlands universe. It's a fun place to play in. I'll probably be getting Borderlands 4, so I'll give him that. But he has made a kind of a reputation for himself as being one of those guys who has too big of an ego to even see it in the game industry. Like, he's a nerd, but he's a nerd who got wealthy and then became a sociopath. You know what I'm saying?
Blizzard syndrome.
Yeah, exactly.
Like John Lovitz on the bench.
So he's the reason why the movie was so terrible, because he had his hands all over the movie. One of the reasons the movie is so terrible. This is a really bad take. I remember this quote. I saw this from a couple other outlets too. They're covering it. A guy on Twitter was like, "Hey, this game better not be $80." And Randy's like, "Number one, it's not my call." It's like, well, you're the CEO. Let's not pretend you don't have a
Definitely
huge
your
voice
call.
in this. Number one. And then he was like, a real fan would go on to buy it. I remember when I was in high school and StarCraft 1 came out and I had to work my weekend job extra hours to buy it. And I was so happy when I got it. I was like, oh, Randy. Look, these corporations and these people need to understand that these are products that we want to buy, don't have to buy. These are luxury items that we like to spend our free time on. And coming out and talking to a fan this way is just, it's tone deaf. It's super tone deaf. It shows you that you need to stop idolizing all these rich people. Stop even asking them these questions, because they're never going to give you a good answer back. Like, I wish people on Twitter would even just stop asking these, because it's always going to be a bad take. If Randy was one of the few like good guys out there, he would be like, you know what, man, look, we're having internal conversations about what the price is right now. I really can't disclose it, but the industry is kind of going in a direction I don't want it to, where the prices are going up. Stay tuned. Like something like that, right? You know,
Yeah.
like you can kind of make it seem like, you know, you're on the gamer side, but it's just so hard for these corporate guys to do that. It's impossible for them. The money's taken over. And
He said, "Forget all y'all."
It's kind of like when you're playing PvP and someone kills you a bunch and they keep teabagging you. It's like, bro, stop. Like, you don't need to do that. Like, I get the point.
It.
Like, we get it. It's kind of the same vibe.
14, but now
Yeah, and it's like let's be honest, Ubisoft did the same thing. Ubisoft last year said, y'all better get used to not owning our games, and you know, price tag's gonna be $120, and customers were like, okay, we just won't buy your games then. And then their sales are down $90 million this year. They're down 33%, and they're looking at laying off hundreds, if not thousands, of their 19,000 employees because they're tone deaf and did the exact same thing. They basically, people were like, hey, we don't want to pay $120 for games, and they basically were just like, suck it, nerd. Like, you're just like, okay. Like it was like, it's kind of like the bully on the other team is now like the CEO, and like you said, it's like maybe he and the CEO of you know, Ubisoft are golfing on the weekends and they're just smoking cigars. Like, dude, we could just charge them $150. Screw it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, at this point, why don't we just charge $200? But isn't that like a rumor for GTA 6 as well? Is that the game might be like $150 or $200 or something like that?
No,
They were thinking about selling it like a premium,
yeah,
80 to 100. So here, let's be honest, boys. We don't have to buy games day one. You buy games day one so you can have what? server problems and deal with all the BS that really happens the first 2 weeks anyways in those games. It's how many times have you seen somebody call off work for when a game releases and they spend the first 2 days like just dealing with the server, like not even able to play it. So, and as a constant Steam game player, they all go on sale after 6 months, my guy. They all do. Every single one of them go. So, and that's how you know the game sucks. It's like if the game is with not even 90 days later, it's already $30 off Diablo 4. Then it's not doing very well. Like Diablo 4 was not even out for 60 days, and they already had it on a $40 off sale once for like a weekend with free weekends. Like
Game Pass.
the same weekend that Path of Exile 2 came out. What a crazy coincidence that you had to knock the price down so much to compete with a $30 game. But just keep in mind, boys, if you're listening, you don't have to kill yourself to buy the $100 game when it comes out. Let it chill for 6 months. As somebody who does that very often with many single-player multiplayer games, there will still be people on GTA Online 6 months after, and it'll probably be a better experience play-wise, and you'll be able to pick up the game for $40 on some sale. That's, in my opinion, the way that I'm probably going to continue shopping as a gamer, just because the prices are crazy. And when 6, 7, 8 games are coming out every 6 months, we're talking, I'm going to spend $2,000-$3,000 a year to play games for a few hours with the boys on the weekends. Like, that's just crazy. That's why these $5 indie games are crushing, because we can all hop in. Like Repo, for example, is like a $10 game that my friends and I are probably going to pick up soon. And when I ask my friends, do you guys want to pick it up? Everyone's like, yeah, man, as soon as it's $5, I'll grab it. It's not even a question. And I guarantee you I'll play that game more than a lot of these big titles.
That's why my Steam library is so big, because of the damn sales.
100, dude. Steam summer sale and Christmas sale. Oh, dude. It all started with the Star Wars collection years ago when I was younger. I bought the entire Star Wars collection for $20. It was like $250 worth of games, and they just get you, man. The addiction starts with Steam sales. Don't do it, man.
You gotta say no.
I can't.
Not as a gamer who likes to collect games and play games and loves games. It's hard to say no to stuff like that. But yeah.
So on that topic, right? And I know a lot of gamers and a lot of can appreciate this, right? Where, like you mentioned, Chris, most times you see a sale, you just want to buy the games because of, okay, well, I can just buy it one time and get this whole collection. But let me ask you this: do you even know when you're gonna go play all of those games?
Yeah.
Oh man, there's it's like movies.
Schedule.
It's like anything media.
You're continuously making a backlog.
Yeah, it's a backlog that could never end. But it to be fair, it's not just mine. I have like a family account, and there's people, other family members, they have their backlog. I feel like it's everyone. It's just, are you willing to admit that you have that backlog? Even console gamers, you can. If you have Game Pass, you have a backlog from just having Game Pass, right? Because you're not going to play every single game on there. It's the fact of having the choice. And I think for me personally, it's because I didn't have the choice coming up from gaming. I didn't have a lot of money. I only had whatever we would go rent a video game that 1 week if we were lucky. And that was if they let me get a game. Normally it's like, no, we're getting a movie because we want to all watch something. Not just watch you play, Nintendo, Chris. And, and I have my brother too, Dom. But it's just... Go ahead.
Tell them about Blockbuster, okay? All these people who are listening now are like, what the hell are they talking about? They just went and rented games? Like, the younger generation probably doesn't even remember Blockbuster.
Yeah, that's the only way you used to be able to get video games if you didn't have the money to go buy it, like, at the store. For most people, it's like, if you were lucky enough to have the console, 1, then 2, you would have to be lucky enough to even own any games. I remember having maybe less than a handful of actual games I owned, and that was because of like holidays, getting them for special occasion. But to play a new game, it was like, oh my god, I can't even play that. And even if you did get to go and rent it, it would be out half the time because they only had so much stock of it, and everyone and their mama wanted to go, play it. So you're just like, shoot.
You go to rent Vice City, and they'd have no copies. It'd just be the little paper back there. You'd be like, no.
I kid you not. Most time when that situation happened, let's just say back then there wasn't a lot of Blockbusters on the same block.
No,
you'll have to drive a good little ways.
They weren't like Starbucks
to go to the next.
No,
yeah, exactly. So if one store didn't have it, you had to go to another store and hope that they had it. But then on top of that, just taking it back because you didn't want to get charged extra. So Yeah.
Well, then what's even worse is then you go to school on Monday and they're like, "How was your weekend?" But it was terrible. I didn't get to play Vice City. And Billy's like, "Oh, I rented it, dude. It was awesome." I was like, "You're the reason I didn't get to play it." Like the guy who rented it was sitting at the lunch table next to you, and you had to be like, "Oh, you jerk." Yeah, it's like, but I don't think kids will really understand like how cool it was when we were younger to be able to go to the store, rent a game, get a couple surge with the boys, and go home. Like that feeling is like. We don't even get to experience that anymore as gamers. Like that adrenaline rush alone. Like by the time you got home, you were like ready to play the game. You know what I mean? Like on a different level. Like those were those late night LAN nights where you're up like till 4 o'clock in the morning drinking energy drinks.
Yeah, because you're trying to get every ounce of that game. Because if you have,
you're like, I have this for 72 hours, literally.
But that goes back to show though that social media, and I say this for everything. Social media is the downfall of everything. Because when we had phones, but we didn't have the access of social media like the YouTubes or like we had YouTube, but it wasn't as where it's at now. You know what I'm saying?
Making things too accessible isn't always a good thing.
No.
Yeah.
And in games, we've seen this a lot too. When things are behind, achievements and things that you have to do. That's what makes games good. That's what makes MMOs and things great. Yeah, 100%. Making it too accessible definitely ruined it.
Yeah, I think Nintendo kind of took from that. Just something I heard that they didn't let anyone who's like a reviewer like get an early copy of the new Switch. And I think it's because they don't want people to have access because then it's going to leak out because there's just so many people who have phones now. Like it leaks. Like it doesn't even matter if you're not even trying to leak it. Somehow it leaks on it and it's like Nintendo's like, no, we're going to shut it down. No one gets a copy. Everyone gets it at the same time. And I'm like, oh, damn.
Well, comedians, most comedians, when you go to their shows, they now make you put your cell phones in those bags because same thing. Like comedians, comedians travel around, do the same jokes all across the country, and if you just happen to see their set on YouTube that somebody recorded on their phone, you probably won't buy tickets. Like you've seen it because they literally are doing the same. They're doing the same jokes in every city.
I went to see Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock when they came here, and they made us put our phones in these like bag things that had like a lock, and they let you keep your phone. But I'm like, I can't even get to it. So it was just ringing all night. And then I was with my party. And then I was like, I can't even text them to find out where they're at. Because, so we went to the bathroom and we went to concessions. They're like, this is not good. I don't know how this is going to work long term. But they did it. So that way their material didn't leak out.
We just need those bags for like bad gaming CEOs, like put them in there until they lower the price of the game. And then we'll let you out.
I'm glad you brought up CEOs. So that's something I wanted to touch on. As we wrap this up real quick, I think a lot of people need to realize the reason why, and not just in gaming, across all industries, the reason why we're having these price debacles is because we're not holding CEO pay accountable. I hate to bring it to something more meta, but the fact is,
with you on
CEO pay and executive pay has gotten so exponentially out of control that it makes you think that the industries are spending more money and things cost more. No, it's because a CEO in the 70s used to make $1.5 million a year, right? The same CEO nowadays makes $25 million, $35, $40 million a year, whereas everyone else is making just 4% more than maybe they were. Like, so that's the problem, is that we have such a high, the executive pay level and the CEO pay level has gotten so out of control.
Astronomical.
I mean, these guys are getting paid like Premier League players or something. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's why
well, like we said,
the $80 is so that the CEO of Activision and EA can buy another, $65 million yacht.
Hey, people who don't play games controlling games, just like we talked about.
Yeah. But guys, we had a really good show today. We covered a lot of great news. We covered the marathon controversy, which will probably, I'm sure, will be going on next week. Let's go around the horn. Everyone tell us what you got going on. What's coming up new? Mr. Rage Chris, what's going on? You got any streaming news coming up for us on your channel?
Not currently. Actually, I'm going to take a little hiatus. I got a wedding to go to in Puerto Vallarta. Going to be leaving this weekend, going for like a good 4 or 5 days. But I will be back next Wednesday to chat with y'all.
Safe.
Enjoy.
I'll be on Threads, though, just chatting it up there. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm going to be up to. What about you guys?
Enjoy the wedding.
Thank you.
What about you, Mr.
What
Justin?
about you, Roar?
Are you Justin?
Me? Oh, well, man, what I got going on right now, man, is just we creating a new segment, basically a trivia game retro, do you know your retro and stuff like that. And it's some real fun stuff that's going to be happening with this segment. And I can't wait to tear everybody right now, but I can't. But definitely will keep y'all in tune of what's going on with that. But other than that, man, I'm gonna try to play some games and link up with the Retro Pioneers crew and play some games, man, and see how that goes.
Rorschach, what's going on with you?
We got a long weekend coming up. I've got Monday and Tuesday off. Our company's off for those 2 days, so I'm gonna try to find something story-wise. Maybe might dive back into Expedition 33 because I think I'll finally be able to just really unplug and be a degenerate, clean my apartment, make some food, hang out with the dog, and put some music on and just
a chill weekend.
Actually just play some games. You know what I mean? Probably do some photography, but other than that, man, I'm just gonna be hanging out with the boys.
Nice. Those are some of the best weekends when you can just try to planned veg session is perfect.
What about you, Byron?
Man, more of the same. More podcasting with the Retro Pioneers podcast family. Got another one coming up on Sunday. We're doing. I'm a little bit behind on the Odd and Odd Couple, but don't worry, the content's coming out this week. We got more segments, and the full show will be out on Friday, plus more recording. Just more of the same, really.
Sounds awesome. Looking forward to it.
Definitely. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and please share this video. Sharing is a must. Send it out to just a friend. Like it, subscribe, smash that like button. We'll see you guys next Wednesday for 4 Dudes Banter. Peace out.
All right, y'all. Peace.
See you guys.